today we're going to take one of our concepts that we've worked on before. We're going to expand a little bit. We're going to have some fun. The kind of product that we're going to have when we finish today is going to look something like this. So what we have here is a picture of the State of the Union address, which is the address the president gives to the world every year about the state of the U.S. government. Of course, I wasn't actually there. I've taken a picture of myself, and I have photoshopped myself into the picture, and I've done my best to make it look like I was there. I want to point out a couple of things. First of all, not only have I put myself in there, I put myself behind his desk, which actually took a little bit of work. I also made myself a little bit blurry, because if you notice Joe Biden here, our vice president, he's actually blurry because he is not the focal point of the picture. President Obama is the focal point. He's perfectly clear. So everything behind him should be a little bit out of focus. So I made myself a little out of focus to do my best to make myself look as though I'm actually in that picture. You're going to be creative here and do something very similar, although it won't be the State of the Union. So the first thing, of course, was to figure out my idea. What am I going to be doing in this picture? Where am I going to be that doesn't really quite work? I'm trying to think of something interesting, something funny, and I thought it might be cool to put myself here at the State of the Union. Let me tell you what I don't want you to do. I do not want you to find a picture of your favorite musician or movie star or celebrity and put yourself next to them. All right? I've seen it 100 times, and I'm tired of it. So I want you to think of something interesting that does not involve your favorite celebrity. You could use someone important historically or someone important like Barack Obama, but not like Rihanna or Gotti, okay? But it doesn't have to involve other people. It might be you're being chased by a lion or a bear, or you found a piece of history and you put yourself in a piece of history that you wouldn't normally have been there for. Anything you want, but you're going to go on Chrome and you're going to search for a picture. So if I were to find a picture of, say, a lion roaring, I'll just type it into the search bar. I don't have to go to Google if I'm using Chrome. Okay, I'm going to change into images. And before I even find one that I like, I'm going to come over here to the side and I'm going to make sure that it's only showing me large pictures. You should be used to this by now. Now when I find the picture I want, I'm going to click on it. And I want a nice big picture. Okay. If I can make it bigger, I'm going to make it bigger. But eventually I'm going to save it into my folder, not into the downloads folder, into my own folder so I know exactly where it is. I'm going to give it a name that makes sense so I know exactly what it is. And then it's time to take the pictures. Now, I should have already have gone over this with you in class. How to use a digital camera, how to plug it into the computer. But once you do plug it into the computer, it's going to ask you how you want to import the picture. Now, importing a picture means taking it from the camera and importing it or putting it on the actual computer. So if I plug it in now, so this dialog box should pop open, and I'm going to tell it that I want to use Picasa 3 to import my pictures. So it will automatically open up Picasa, and it will open this import tab. And after a few seconds, it's going to find all the pictures on the camera, and I'll be able to take them from the camera and import them to the computer. Now, this is the camera that I use to take all of our student ID pictures, so you're going to see a lot of those pictures loading up. I'm going to go ahead and pause it while the camera gets ready. Okay, so it found all the pictures on the computer. You can see a lot of them are my student ID pictures, but this one down here is of me. So you'll see, hopefully, the picture of you on the camera. I'm going to click on the picture I want. It says, do I want to import it to My Pictures folder? And I don't. I want to put it in my own folder. So I'm going to click here, and instead of one of these folders, I'm going to click on Choose. It's going to let me choose which folder to put it in. So here are all the folders. If I zoom up, I can see, oh, there's my document. So my folder should be around here. There it is, Mr. Eames. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to press OK. You can leave this blank. And this is asking me if I want to delete the photo once I'm done. I'm actually going to go ahead and say leave the card alone, so we will not delete the photo, just in case something happens we need to get it again. When I'm ready, I'm going to say import the selected picture. I have this one selected. I don't need all the rest of them. So I'll press import selected, and that picture will go into my folder. So of course I started up GIMP, and I went up to File, and I opened two different files. I opened the picture of me, and the picture that I was going to insert myself into. So I have them both open right now. So we've done this before, we just weren't using ourselves, and there are several ways for us to go about it. What I need to do is select myself so that I can cut and paste myself and put myself over here. Now, there are at least 2 ways to select myself, and I'm going to teach you a third one that I think you're really going to like. The first way we learned to select things was to use the quick mask. Down here, I can turn on the quick mask, and then I can choose to either erase myself or erase everything around myself in order to select myself. Then I taught you how to use the Paths tool up here to go around an area to select it. This new way I think you're really going to like. I'm going to go ahead and press Select None. I'm going to get rid of that. And it's this tool right here called the Scissors Select, or called Intelligent Scissors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my main window, and as always, I'm going to zoom in by pressing Shift and the plus key at the same time. So I have zoomed in by pressing Shift and plus till I've got a nice close picture of myself. Now the Intelligent Scissors are a lot like the Path tool, except they're a little bit smarter. So I'm going to start my path right here. As I click, you're going to notice the scissors do their best to figure out where I mean to click. They're going to do their best to figure out where I start and the background begins. So it doesn't always do it right, but it does pretty close. I'm going to grab this line right here and pull it down a little bit and help the scissors to figure out where my hair is. And I'm going to keep going. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit more because it's really important that I'm precise with this. Here, I've got a little bit of that white background, and that's going to make my project look kind of iffy. So I'm going to keep going all the way around myself, and when I make a mistake or it doesn't quite do the way I want it to, I'm going to make sure I come back and help it to figure out what I actually want. And it does a pretty good job. I'm going to go ahead and pause. When I come back, I'll have figured out, I've gone all the way around myself. And I'll be right back. I'm going to point out real quick that I know in this picture I don't actually need my feet. The feet are going to be obscured by that desk that Obama's standing at. There's no way I'm able to see all my feet, so I'm not even going to bother with the feet. I want to go down to a little bit past my knees. And from here, I'm going to cut right on over. I'm going to continue. Go all the way around me. This side, I want to point out, gets a little bit trickier because this side there's a shadow that I'm casting on the background. So I've got to be careful that I don't include that shadow, because in the main picture I wouldn't have a shadow like that. I just have to be really careful that the Smart Scissors are doing the job that I want them to do. And I'll be right back. I've gone all the way around myself, but there are a couple pieces over here that I need to fix. You can see the scissors got a little confused, and they tried to include my shadow. So I'm going to come to this line and pull it down a little bit and just let the scissors know what I want and what I don't want. And it takes a little bit of practice, but it's definitely easier than taking the Paths tool and going all the way around myself, like I would have been doing before. And I went all the way around, and at the end I connected my very last node with my very first node so that there's a fully formed circle all the way around me. And if I press enter, that path changes into a selection. We know that it's a selection because of the marching ants marching around me. And from this point, this should be pretty familiar. I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to edit. I'm going to copy myself. I'm going to pull up this picture. I'm going to go to Edit. And the easiest way to do it is I could just press Paste, but I'm going to tell even more specific. I'm going to do Paste as a new layer. So I'm my own layer. And there I am. You can see over here in the Layers toolbar that there's a picture of me with nothing around me, and then the background picture. Obviously right now this is not going to work. So there are a few things I need to do. First of all, I need to resize myself or scale myself. Over on the toolbox, this button is called Scale. I'm going to come over and click on myself. And I can just grab one of these corners and just pull myself down. And I'll press Scale, and I think I might have gotten close. There, I'm starting to look a little bit better, so I'm going to go ahead and take the Move tool, and I'm going to move myself into position. And I'm going to put myself in front of Mrs. Nancy Pelosi. She's a Speaker of the House. I still think I'm too big, so I'm going to go back to the Scale tool. I'm going to keep tweaking this. I'm going to go ahead and pause for now. So I've got myself about the right size and about the right place for this picture, but clearly it doesn't look right. It looks like I'm standing right in front of the president, which is the exact opposite of what I'm trying for. I'm trying to make it look like I'm standing in front of him. So I'm going to have to tweak some things to fix this. And what I need is to be able to put myself behind his shoulder and his desk over here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn my layer off here for a second so that I become invisible. I'm going to go to the background layer, and I am going to take my scissors again, and I'm going to select just a small piece of this picture. I'm going to get the desk, going to get his hand up his shoulder, and I'm going to connect. And then I'm going to go ahead, actually I should make sure that I pull this down all the way. I'm going to press Enter, turn it into a selection, and I'm going to copy. And I'm just going to go paste it right one more time. I'm just going to go ahead and paste. And I'll turn myself back on. I'm going to turn this into a new layer. And there we go. So what I have here, if we think about it, I have the background image, the normal image we started with, the State of the Union. I have myself in the middle. And on top of everything, I have this layer that all the layer is his shoulder, his hand, and this part of the desk. And that's in front of everything, including me. So what I've done is I've made it look as though I'm actually in the background. Now, I'm not quite done yet. There are certainly some more tweaks that I have to do. First of all, I can see around here there is still some white parts from my background that I didn't totally get rid of. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my layer, and I'm going to zoom in. And these little white parts are the quickest way to show that I didn't actually do this right. So I'm going to take my eraser, and as long as I have the layer that's just me selected, if I take my eraser, when I begin to erase, I only erase me. I'm not erasing that flag that's behind me or anything. And I'm going to go through and get rid of all these little white parts that ruin the effect. I noticed there were some down by my ear, some on my shirt. For the sake of time, I'm going to stop. You, of course, would go all the way around yourself to make sure you got rid of all of those little giveaways. But if you look back to my head now, my head looks a lot better than it did before, and this part of my shoulder looks much better than that part of my shoulder. So that's the first tweak I'm going to do. Second of all, I'm not very happy with the fact that Miss Pelosi back here looks like I'm sort of standing on top of her. So I'm going to use this new tool that you haven't seen yet. Now this is very cool. I have this tool over here called the clone tool. I'm going to click on the clone tool. I'm going to bring my cursor over here, and what I want is I want the part where I can see the back of her head to look like this part over here. So what I do is I hold down the control button right there, and that's like my marker. Now I can take my mouse and I can paint. And what it's doing is it's painting exactly what my little marker is. Whatever my little marker is on, that's what gets painted. So if I were to take this over and go really far this way, I begin to paint whatever that little marker touches. But I can do a pretty good job of getting that same color from the background of the flag. And I make quick little strokes. And eventually, Mrs. Pelosi goes away. Oops. Control Z. Do the same thing over here. I'm going to hold down Control, set my marker, and then begin to get this part of her hair. Now, the reason I'm not touching myself, of course, is that I'm not on that same layer. I have my own layer where I am. And I'm going to do the same thing down here. I'm not going to put you through watching the whole thing, but I'm going to get the same thing to get rid of her elbow. And I don't know about you, but I think that's pretty good. You would not have known that she was back there. It's like she was never there at all. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. It looks much better without her hair sticking out the back. So I only really have one more thing that I want to do for this picture to help it a little bit. And I'm going to click on my layer, and I'm going to go up to Filters. And one of the filters you might have noticed is blur. So I'm going to do what's called a Gaussian blur. And like I said in the beginning, what that's going to do, it's going to make me a little blurry. Because in this picture, if I'm behind the president, I should be a little blurry. That's how cameras work. Okay. It's a slight change, but it's an important one, and it helps. And so what I've got here is a pretty convincing picture. Obviously, I was not behind Barack Obama, but it looks like I might have been. So I hope you have a good time with this. I hope you really think about something that would be funny or humorous or interesting. Take some time. Of course, when you save it as a JPG file so you can turn it into Schoology. And good luck.